Greetings! We are the Rudok's Tavern. You may know us from our Instagram where we post homebrew items and monsters of all kinds. We've decided that since not everyone has the time to read the stories we've written, we'll try and narrate them to our best abilities, so that you may listen to them while on the go or while doing chores if you want. So let us not tarry, and let's just get right into it.
This tavern looks like a proper hive of scum and villainy, aye? All of your pirates, scoundrels, mercenaries, sellswords, and monsters folk, rejoice! For I come here into your little den, in the name of my most esteemed captain, the scourge of the Sea of Joy, the Green Terror, the Mad Murderer, the one and only Captain Greenlump. I come here to offer ye a place in our crew. All of you brave enough to accept shall be rewarded with fortune and glory beyond your imaginations. Pillaging, plundering, raiding and slaying are our routines. We laugh in the face of death and danger, for there is nothing that can stop our captain once he set his sight upon something. But I believe you've already heard of him, haven't you? So there's nothing more to... What did you say? That you haven't heard of my captain? Someone take the fool outside and tell him of the mighty deeds Captain Greenlump had done. What do you mean by no one here has heard of him? And you heard of the Battle of the Crystalline Bay? The arson of Ankarel? Not even the raid of gnomes? What backwards hole have I stepped into this time? Well, since you lot are so uneducated, it looks like it's up to me to enlighten you about the greatest pirate to have ever sailed these seas. Someone bring me a stool and a bottle of rum. You there, fiddler! Start fiddling that fiddle of yours, light up the heart, and all of you get around me, for I have tales to tell to you now. So let's start at the beginning, shall we? From what I've heard, our captain was always a little bit of an outcast, even among his own kind, and that's probably the reason he was never part of any goblin tribe or anything. I personally still don't know whether he's a madman or a genius, but I don't care, because he gets us through crap anyway. No one except for his closest mates know what he's up to before he made a name for himself, but it doesn't really matter, because our first tale is the one that truly made him famous. Or infamous, I should rather say. It is a story of how Captain and his crew of 2 other goblins and 1 kobold managed to steal a mighty military galleon. It happened on a bright and sunny summer day in Joytown. Our captain and his companions were spending their time there for whoever knows what reason, when they noticed a great, magnificent ship docking in the harbour. I said it was a galleon, but that ain't exactly true. It was a strange, gigantic hybrid of a ship over 220 feet long with a beam of about 30 feet. It had 4 huge masts rigged with 4 enormous sails. However, unlike other ships of its kind, it also had 2 banks of oars and quite a shallow depth. So something between a galleon and a galley, one could say. Oh, and I forgot to mention the various ballistae, catapults, and a handful of those new things called cannons it had on board. Our captain knew that stealing such a vessel wouldn't be exactly easy, so he needed the most valuable asset there is. Besides numbers, firepower, magics, and a bunch of other stuff. Information. That's where one of our captain's first and most trusted advisors comes through. A spy like no other. A goblin who turned his greatest weakness into his greatest asset. Boblin the Goblin. A small and inconspicuous rogue, born with a hideous deformity rare in our kind. One that the humans call a cute and lovable face. For some reason the so-called sophisticated races find him trustworthy and often allow him on their greatest secret without much coercion. That's why he was assigned to infiltrate the ship to find out more about the crew where they drink, what they do when they sleep, and most importantly, if any one of them could be persuaded into joining our captain's crew instead. The cunning mastermind that is Boblin managed to do so without much effort, and quickly became a relished part of the crew. But none of them knew of the intricate web of lies and trickery he was spinning to prepare them for the next phase in Captain Greenlump's great plan. Whilst Boblin was doing his scheming and spying, our captain was using his wits and knowledge of the Joytown underworld to find himself some new additions to the crew. Stealing a ship is nice and all, but it wouldn't be of much use without some proper sailors to sail her. After scrounging through a number of rotten and shifty taverns, Captain found himself in a nice, sizable company of races that were commonly despised by others. Persuading them was no hard task, as most of them were piss-poor and bloody angry, mostly thanks to the fact that no decent establishment would hire them, and everyone was always looking down on them. But while the old goblin saying, "Strength in numbers," is sacred, numbers alone wouldn't do here. Our captain needed some brute muscles as well. Unfortunately, the strong, brutish races usually look down on us goblins as well, and our captain was mostly unsuccessful in persuading them. Most useful to his endeavour would be minotaurs, strong as bulls, and phenomenal sailors. But our kinds don't really see eye to eye with their honour, idiocracy and all. He managed to convince about half of the orcs in Joytown, which means 2, but it still cost him a nice bit of begging and grovelling. He exquisitely gambled with a dark dwarf and swindled him out of a stone golem. Mind you, the dwarf was long gone when our captain realized he forgot to ask for the command word, but I think he has it in his cabin up to this day, and a fine piece of statuary it is. Our cousins the trolls would have been excellent, but apparently there never was a single troll in Joytown, possibly because they do not really understand sea travel. After a long search, it seems that the only other option remained ogres. They are strong and brutish, that be true, but we goblins like a little bit of subtlety, and while the other strong races can at least grasp the meaning of the word, ogres usually respond to subtlety with smash, smash, smash. So our captain didn't really want to hire them. But he had no choice. He heard that there was a group of about 24 ogres in town that were looking for a way to legally smash some humans to bits. Once our captain approached their leader, he noticed that they were at least a little bit more civilized and intelligent than most others of their race, which was a good sign. The bad part was that they were trying their best to be respectable members of society, to battle the so-called race prejudice. Mind you, they were as bloodthirsty and brutish as all other members of their kind. They just wanted to break bones under the banner of civilization. They wanted organized blood games, arena fights to the death, and other legal ways how to kill people. They usually worked as bouncers, debt collectors, and bodyguards, but they created this small community of theirs because that's what the proper races do. Once our captain found this out, he realized what had to be done. He had to convince those ogres that stealing a private military vessel, killing the people on it, and using it to do acts of piracy was not forbidden by the law. Fortunately for us, goblins are the best lawyers in the business, and from what I've heard, this wasn't the hardest case, due to a few key points. Firstly, the plutocratic Joytown laws were made to make the rich get richer and more powerful. Anything not regarding money was deliberately left with as many loopholes as possible, so the rich can do whatever they want. Secondly, our captain is and was a masterful forger. Thirdly, no matter how civilized, ogres are not the brightest. And lastly, everyone believes what they want to believe. And if someone wants to believe that human skulls need smashing to bits, then it isn't hard to convince them, is it? So, after a little bit of subterfuge, the ogres decided to help our captain to reclaim his stolen ship from the thieves, with the right to kill anyone who defies this order issued by the city council, and to then sail with us as corsairs working for Joytown, but with the ability to raid Joytown ships as well, for the purpose of hiding their true allegiances. Now that our captain had both crew and information, it was time for the final phase of the plan. With most of the pieces fallen into place, it was time to begin the final phase of the plan. Captain decided to wait until nightfall, when most of the ship's crew members were enjoying their shore leave in various drinking holes, and the ones who had remained on the ship were tired and unassuming. It probably also didn't help that Boblin added a little bit of a special goblin seasoning, provided and brewed by the captain's right-hand man, the powerful shaman, some call the Stormcaller. Others know him as the Magnificent Gobbo. This concoction added to the crew's food made them see the world in a, let's say, different light. Out of the 100 crew members stationed on board at the moment, about 40 were in the condition to fight after Boblin's little sabotage. Overtaking the ship now wasn't a problem. Trying to discreetly get the whole crew of goblins, ogres, kobolds, and more throughout the city to the ship without raising suspicion was. Our captain knew that sneaking wasn't an option and would only alert everyone nearby that something nefarious was going on, so a distraction was in order. Something that wouldn't hide the presence of the monstrous force going towards the ship, but something that would shift the attention elsewhere. The Boommaster was the kobold for the job. A small array of surgically timed explosions happening at once over the city, and a decently sized fire growing around the wooden foundations of Joytown's market caused quite a ruckus on the streets, from what I've heard. People did notice the small army marching through the city, but that in their minds was a problem for later. We goblins like subtlety and sabotage, but we also like some proper butchering and bloodshed. And once the crew got to the harbour, well, let's just say the time for subtlety was over. The few Joytown guards left at the docks knew better than to stand in our captain's way, and so the way to the ship was direct and clear. Once the solid ground was no longer under their feet, and only creaking wood of the warship remained, the true race began. The remaining crew of the ship started ringing the bells to call for help, and the vessel had to be taken before that help came. I have to say I regret that I wasn't there to see it. Imagine the atmosphere. Middle of the night, the sky is red with fire and ash, the dooming bells are ringing, sounding, the time is running out, and there is a bunch of humies that are ready to put up a decent fight, but they are outnumbered enough so that stepping them in the back is a safe and sound tactic. I ain't much of a poet, but by me, this is as poetic as it gets. The fight was short and brutal, mostly due to the fighting prowess of our Captain Greenlump, and possibly the ogres who were ready to unleash their pent-up legally bound rage upon the Humy skulls. But once those pinkskins were dead, the race wasn't over. Captain started shouting commands towards his crew. Ogres to the oars, goblins to sails, raise the bloody anchor, run the rigging, everyone else, shove us off! And Boommaster, send them a few gifts from us, aye? And that he did. I've heard that there were at least 30 men on the pier when it exploded. Everything worked like a well-oiled machine, and it wasn't long before the crew were quickly leaving Joytown behind. Everything was going splendidly, until it wasn't. What our captain didn't anticipate was that just when he had finally managed to steal the warship, after weeks of planning no less, that he will have had chosen the exact same time to steal something, during which a Joytown pirate patrol of 4 ships decided to return to resupply. Fortunately, the patrol didn't know the vessel was stolen. Unfortunately, one ogre panicked and decided to fire a catapult upon them. Captain decided that the best course of action was to utilize the honed and mastered goblin tactic of running away as fast as possible. The wind was however not in his favor, as he wanted to sail into the wind so that chasing ships would have to compete against the strength of ogre rowers. The situation didn't really look good, but an unlikely miracle came to his help. The ogre leader came up to the captain and said something like, "I got this, captain," and went on to the ship's stern. He had a strange ornate club in the shape of a ship that he raised over his head and smashed into our boat. The ship started violently rocking, but it gained quite a lot of speed for some reason. Captain looked behind to see what the hell happened, and he saw that the pursuing ships were somehow shoved off course, and one of them was quite badly damaged. And since humans and other similar races are usually so soft-hearted, all the ships stopped pursuing to help that one ship from sinking. When later asked about what he did, the ogre leader simply said, "Big wave." Now this was a story of how my captain got his famous vessel, and how he is the most cunning and clever goblin there is. Not as charming as me, of course. So what say you? Are you lot ready to join his crew?
So that's all the story for now. If you like what we do, you can also find us on our website, link in the description, where we post all of our homebrew and other stuff, including collaborations with other various talented people. If you are feeling generous, you can also check out our Patreon, where we give various rewards for monthly subscriptions. To end this with, we would like to give an enormous thanks to all of our patrons. You guys are amazing. So that would truly be everything for now. Thank you all for watching, and we hope you'll be up for another round next time.